Let me caution you, if you think that you can avoid addiction by substituting one drug for another, you just say, oh, I'll just use this drug for 2 weeks, I'll do that drug for a month, I'll switch back to this one, I'll go back and forth. Eventually, that drug is not going to stop. You're going to get addicted. Coach Greg, in today's video, Togi and we argue about steroids. And so this is actually Niall Naga. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He's going to say that he's arguing with Togi about steroids. And I've watched the video and I'm going to tell you they don't argue about steroids. Niall basically asks him a bunch of questions and just agrees with them and says, well, yeah, for you. Yeah, oh, I get it. He's playing nicety. But you know me. You know I'm not going to do that. And so I'm going to go over some of the highlights. We're going to listen to what Togi says, and we're going to decide, is what he's saying making sense? Well, of course it's not.
A lot of people say I'm glorifying steroids, but injectable testosterone,
fucking sick,
I think
dude,
is the nectar of this planet.
And so he basically says, look, people are saying I'm glorifying steroids. I'm not glorifying them. I'm saying exactly how awesome they really are, namely testosterone. Testosterone is the nectar of this world. Everyone should be taking testosterone.
Testosterone needs more recognition.
Testosterone, it needs more recognition. Everyone, regardless of your age, your training status, blood work, whatever, everyone should be taking testosterone. And so I'm not glorifying it. I'm giving it the attention it deserves. Great job, Togi. Great job.
Testosterone will change, in my opinion, 90% of men's lives for the better.
And so he says, essentially, 90% of lives are going to be made better from testosterone. Why aren't we all taking testosterone? Well, I'll tell you why. It can shorten your life. It can shorten your life. And so, no, not everyone should be taking testosterone. And no, it's not going to help 90% of people live a better life. What's next? Are we going to say that sniffing creatine is going to help everyone's lives? Sure, if you do, it's going to make you feel good. But what are the costs?
Side effects seen is not nearly of substantial value compared to just fucking being on testosterone.
And so Niall basically agrees with him. Hey, testosterone, it doesn't seem that bad. People could take testosterone. Everyone should be on HRT. I'm not getting any sense of Togi. Are you serious right now? Imagine if I were interviewing Togi. Would I be speaking to him like this, or would I be questioning him, saying, are you sure about that? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? But all he's essentially doing is agreeing with him.
Time is very precious. Your existence, your reality is 100% in your hands.
And so time is very precious, and the reality is we're only here for a short time, not a long time. And so Togi, have you ever thought of this? Why not try to live as long as possible? Just because your time on earth is very short, there's no reason to make it even shorter. And sniffing creatine, abusing steroids, and partying till the late hours, or perhaps partying for straight days, it's not going to let you live longer than last time.
In my opinion, I would want to take off X amount of years of my life so I can live the perfect reality. I've been living such a beautiful existence.
So Togi, you're saying this now, but you're what, 21 years of age? You don't know what you're doing. You might think you know what you're doing, but your brain hasn't even fully developed. You're not even 25. And so you've been thinking, yeah, I'm living my best life. I'm loving life. It's great. Until a few years go by and you're thinking, what did I do? Why did I make all those stupid decisions?
If I died tomorrow, I would be more content than if I lived 90 years and didn't do shit.
I'm very convinced that if you were to die tomorrow, you'd be looking back at yourself from perhaps somewhere in a different universe and thinking, well, that was stupid. I'm already dead. I had so many years to live. Think of the things you could have done. Do you really think that testosterone, steroids are making your life that much better? Why? So you can weigh 220 pounds instead of 200 pounds? Is it really going to make a difference?
It was the wateriest cycle ever. Gram of test, gram EQ, 150 ment.
A gram of test, a gram of EQ, and 150 milligrams of ment. He's 21. What does he need this for? And I've already watched this video, and the guy hardly even works out. He's partying more than he's working out. He literally said he's missing out on approximately 75% of the gains because of his inability to stick to the diet, to the training, and so on. And so why are we abusing steroids if we're only going to get 25% of its benefits? Remember, in order for steroids to work, you need a stimulus for muscle growth to occur. You can't just take steroids, lay on the couch, and develop an amazing amazing physique. And so if you are in fact abusing steroids, shouldn't you at least make the most of it? And so is it really worth it? I've already gone over your blood work, how horrendous it is. And so is it worth it?
So many that it's like hard to keep track. I just have like my chemical stack and I just like take it mindlessly every day. But there's like 8 different things I take.
And so he's taken so many drugs that he has to take 8 different drugs to combat the negative side effects of the drugs he's taking. He has a big drawer of this. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Take this, a bit of that, mix everything up. And to top it off, sniff out some creatine? Is it really worth it?
It sucks that you have to take more medications if you want to take these medications, but that's just how bodybuilding is. Like, you gotta like balance things out some way.
And so it's one thing to take steroids, and it's another thing to take them in absurdly abusive doses and hardly even go to the gym. You've heard of his doses and how crazy they are. Why couldn't he at least take a smaller cycle? Not saying he should take any cycle at all, but it would not make sense to perhaps go on half of what he's taking. I mean, really, why does he need to take the same doses as those guys training for IFBB Pro cards?
Do whatever you enjoy. It's your life. It's your existence. That's out of my hands, and I'm not in charge of.
And so he says last month he got in total 200 million views. And who do you think are watching his videos? It's mostly teenagers, guys in their early 20s, guys who should not be using performance-enhancing drugs. And so he says, look, I'm not responsible for these guys. They can do what they want. I'm not telling them to copy me, and so my hands are clean.
Actually, right now I have about 50 different TikTok accounts. At all times, one of them, 2 of them, or 3 of them, maybe even 5 of them at a time are shadow banned.
Yeah.
But then the rest can bang.
But here's the thing. He knows what he's doing is wrong, so much so that he's created multiple accounts. Perhaps 50 accounts at the same time. And so if 5 accounts get deleted, so what? He had his Instagram taken down, had over 500,000 views. Multiple accounts are being reported for having inappropriate material. And so he knows about this. He knows he's doing the wrong thing, but yet he continues to do it. And so all you're seeing is Togi here, Togi there, Togi everywhere. And so that message is being portrayed to younger audiences who are thinking, this is the secret. This is the way to get famous. I'm going to abuse steroids. The steroids are going to make me famous, and I'm going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, probably about 5 to 20 DMs a day saying, thank you so much, Togi. You inspired me to take steroids.
And so, of course, people are going to be following in his footsteps. He said on average, 5 to 20 kids per day write him in his DMs and say, you inspired me to take steroids. 5 to 20 a day. Imagine how many do that in an entire year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The people are literally writing him in the DMs. In a matter of a year, I may get a couple of people who say, you inspired me to use steroids. For the most part, I'm getting hundreds of messages, people every day saying, you're the reason I don't take steroids. And so you can bash and hate me all you like. Coach Greg is a bad person. You're all about the drama. But my drama is convincing people to avoid abusing performance-enhancing drugs.
Just chugging Nabivolol to try and keep my heart. I'm sitting there. Like, this is it. But so far, we're good.
And so think of it. He's had multiple times where he thought, this is it. I'm flying too close to the sun. It's going to be my last day. The heart's beating faster than ever before, but yet it's worth it. How is this worth it?
And take steroids is definitely not one of the tips I tell the world. I do say being jacked is a must, so steroids like to a degree.
And so being jacked is a must, but taking steroids, I don't encourage that, but everyone I encourage to get jacked. And so think of it. If you're jacked yourself and you're taking steroids, and you're telling everyone to get jacked, that it's so important, and you're preaching about how testosterone is the nectar of the earth, that 90% of people will benefit from taking testosterone, then what do you think people are going to do?
Not necessarily kids, people, and I'm sure some of them are kids, have hopped on steroids because of me. And to be honest, I don't in the slightest feel guilty or responsible about it.
And so what exactly is the proper age to take steroids? He's saying, I don't feel guilty about kids using steroids. Hey, if you're of the proper age to use steroids, then by all means. The last I checked, steroids are illegal in the United States, unless, of course, you're getting it prescribed by your doctor. Now, remember, if you are, in fact, in need of HRT, there's something deficient in your body, you can, of course, get Tren. I've partnered with Tren. If you need to get your blood work done, to get a doctor to prescribe you what you actually need, please click the link in the description.
So when I first hopped on steroids, I hopped on steroids because I wanted to get famous. I remember that was the goal.
And so consider this. The reason he hopped on steroids was to get famous. It wasn't to build muscle. It wasn't to enter a bodybuilding competition. It was strictly, I want to get famous.
But I had been studying social media for a few months prior to that because, you know, like I said, I went 2 years straight posting.
And so he had been posting every single day, couldn't get any views. Remember, the number one job when asked teenagers what they would want to grow up to aspire to be, they aspire to be a YouTube influencer. This is literally the dream job of almost every teenager. Used to be, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a firefighter, a police officer, a school teacher, whatever. Now, I want to be a YouTube influencer. And so he had been trying for years, 2 years in particular, was not getting any traction. And so he decided, hey, I know what I'll do. I'll take steroids. I'll become a moron. I'll do stupid things. I'll become infamous, you know, famous for doing something wrong.
And I came to the conclusion that I needed a topic that has people that fucking hate it.
And so he said, what you need to do is post content where people are going to hate you. What makes you very famous is if you can post things that people are going to argue against. They have to get into the comment section. They have to call you an idiot. So for example, Eddie Abu, one of the reasons he's so famous is because half of the thing he says is complete horse shit. He tells you a bunch of nonsense and that makes you go viral. And there's a certain cult following of morons that don't understand nutrition. They don't understand anything. And they think, you're our savior, our hero. And the haters are helping him to grow famous. Guys like Coach Greg, you know what? Eating fruit and vegetables is actually good for you, Eddie. You're not making sense. And so that pushes him to grow even more popular. And so by saying, hey, look at the cycles I'm doing. Look at me sniffing creatine. Look at me staying up late hours of the night. Look at my horrible blood work. Doing these things that makes people go out and comment in spades. It's similar to the Liver King. If you are very controversial, you say moronic things, there's going to be a much greater chance that you are going to be famous on the internet.
Some people that like casually work out, I have their dream physique. The real bodybuilders that see my physique and they're like, this guy looks like complete shit.
And so the fact that he abuses steroids with ridiculously high doses, but doesn't have a physique that resembles somebody like that, the fact that he's partying at all hours of the night, going on benders, gambling away all his money, that is the trifecta for being popular.
People taking steroids and doing a crazy workout. that was me. I started, and people hate
This is insane. People hate it so much.
And so essentially him taking steroids with the music and the edits and making it look cool, essentially glorifying steroids. He started all of this. He made it cool and he's proud of it. Think of it. 200 million views. He's making hella cash, hella bank. Guy's getting his bag. But is it worth it? Imagine he dies at 25 or at 21. Imagine it happens this year. Will we all look back and think, well, we told you so? Or are we going to think, who's next? Who gets to take over from Togi from here?
But anavar, I always tell people anavar is fucking candy, not even worth taking. It doesn't do shit for me. Maybe I'm taking fake anavar. Actually, I definitely am not taking fake anavar, but I've never liked it.
And so I've already done a video on Togi talking about anavar. My personal opinion is perhaps it's fake or that he's so used to using incredibly high doses that when he uses something a little bit milder, he doesn't even notice it. But I'm telling you, if you're taking anavar, even in moderate doses, you should feel a significant difference. I'm not trying to convince you to take anavar. I'm just saying that even though anavar, for the most part, it's more famous among women than among men, anavar is still a steroid and it's going to allow you to have more gains than friggin' last time.
I have a very strong feeling like you're a fucking smart dude. You know what you're doing to a good extent. You're just not going to be one of these guys.
See, I would argue that he's not really a smart dude. I feel like intelligence has something to do with the control of your life to doing what's best for you. And if you're just taking steroids at excessively high doses, enough to dramatically shorten your life, it doesn't make you smart. It's kind of like Dr. Mike Israetel. He's a very smart man, but if he's abusing steroids to win an IPB Pro card, but he doesn't win that Pro card because apparently he didn't have enough tan, is what he was saying, then to me that doesn't make you very smart. A smart man would assess his physique and say, you know what? My aesthetic genetics, they're not that good. My conditioning, it wasn't all that on. And so I didn't get a pro card because I wasn't lean enough. I don't have the aesthetics. I'm going to perhaps stop competing this sport because I'm a multi-millionaire and I don't need an IFBB pro card to make myself cool. I'm already cool. To me, that would be a smart person. If you're very intelligent, but yet you're doing stupid things that make no sense when you think of it in the grand scheme of things, to me, you're not all that smart. Now, are you?
Honestly, fuck being on cycle. It's great growing this fast, but I feel best when I'm on 250 to 500 tests. That's really all I need.
And so think of it. He feels his best when he's on perhaps 250 to 500 milligrams of testosterone. But yet he's taking way higher doses of several different products. He's injecting himself every day. He's taking all these different peptides and so on. But he only really needs 250 to 500 milligrams to feel good. How does it make sense then that he's abusing all these steroids? If he was thinking logically, he'd be thinking, 250 milligrams, I feel really good on that. I'm going to take 250 milligrams. I don't need to blast that hella gear. I don't need to take off 20 years from my life. But yet, he's still doing it.
If I had the exact same lifestyle habits, but I was only taking 500 tests, I would be significantly smaller than I am now.
And so here's the thing. It's called the law of diminished returns. Taking 2,500 milligrams of gear is not 5 times better than taking 500. Is it going to cause more growth than 500? Yes, but how much more? Maybe 20%. And so why are you risking it for 20% more gains? You're going to take 5 times the doses, 5 times the danger for 20% more gains. And so with bodybuilding, you take the lowest dose that gets you the results that you need. Togi does not care about bodybuilding all that much. I mean, let's be honest. He's partying harder than last time. He's sniffing creatine. He's staying up at all hours of the night. If he really cared about being the best bodybuilder he could ever be, he would not be partying harder than last time. And so seeing as he just wants to have more muscle, that he's not doing it for competition, shouldn't he be doing so in lower doses? He said it himself. I can't see myself taking anything past age of 23. After the first 3 cycles, I'm hardly noticing any changes. And so why take such high doses? Why not just take lower doses for the long term? Why not, for example, have taken just HRT? You're partying, your testosterone levels are up and down, you're all out of whack, and so why not just go on HRT? Take the same dose and do it for years and get monitored by a doctor. Would that not make more sense?
You know, I could get hit by a fucking bus tomorrow and die. I don't have time to let my goals wait.
And so this is what doesn't make sense. He's saying, I don't have time. I don't have the time to train for 5 years to put on that muscle. I need it now. I need to fly closer to the sun. And yeah, maybe I'll die, but it's worth it because I have to do everything right now. No, you don't. No, you don't.
To me, it makes sense to say, you know what, fuck it. Let's just take 3 grams of gear. And maybe not your first cycle. It made sense to me to just be like, you know what, here we go.
Just to try it, right?
I'm ready for a fucking IFBB Pro cycle.
I mean, it's his words, not mine. He wants to do an IFBB Pro cycle after just 2 or 3 cycles. It makes no sense. Building muscle takes time. You can't just fast forward the time, take the IFBB Pro cycle, and think you're going to look like an IFBB Pro like that. It doesn't work like that. It takes years. And so the true reward, it comes with the effort. That comes with the satisfaction of knowing that you worked hard for something. If you get an IFBB Pro body in 1 month, you really think it's all that exciting? Hey, look at me. You put in 1 month of work. It's not going to be nearly as satisfying as if you had to grind for it for years, perhaps 10 or maybe even 20 years.
I have my dream physique right now. Other than my gyno. I got gyno, which I'm going to get cut out.
And so he already has his dream physique minus the gyno. And so he's pushing all these crazy doses because he knows that the freakier his physique, the more views he's going to get. Do you all think that Sam Sulek would have millions of followers if he was 175 pounds? Do you think Chris Bumstead would have 20 plus million followers on Instagram if he were 175 pounds? Of course not. And so the freakier, the more impressive the physique, the more chances you're going to have a large social media following. And so he's not even doing this for himself. He's doing this for the limelight, for the followers, for more people to tune in to his videos.
How'd you like halotestin?
At 10 milligrams.
Okay.
So
you weren't going crazy with it.
Is that I would assume, I think that's like a basic dose.
And so, yes, halotestin I've used a number of times for several different competition. It absolutely works. It dries you out, makes your physique look very hard. Doesn't put on a lot of muscle. 10 milligrams, a basic dose. I titrated up from 10 milligrams to 30 milligrams a day. And so it's on 3 times a higher dose, but it definitely shuts you down. And so following your use of halotestin, you're not going to have your body producing any testosterone. Your testosterone is going to be in the tank, and so you're then going to lose a lot of muscle. And so what halotestin does, it gives you a lot more energy. You might have no energy because you're in a calorie deficit. You're at 4 or 5% body fat, and you're figuring, how the hell am I going to go to the gym? I'm telling you, with halotestin, it had me more energy than last time. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and take halotestin. It's very hepatotoxic. It's bad for your liver and so on. But many professional bodybuilders or aspiring pros are absolutely taking Halo. Not only that, it makes you stronger than last time. And so if you're a fighter, a power lifter, a strongman competitor, many people are taking and abusing Halo. Not talking about the game.
You talk about tren and how like you feel like you're like
To just rip my, like crawl out of my skin.
yeah, you're trying to crawl out of my skin.
And so listen, everyone that talks about tren is talking about how horrendous the side effects are. Young people, they glorify tren. You're going to put on so much muscle. But it hasn't been until now that people have been coming out about the side effects, the anxiety, Togi wanting to rip himself out of his own skin. I'm telling you, it caused such horrible insomnia, I could hardly sleep. And so yeah, I like the gains, but no, I hated my life when I was on tren. Makes you feel horrible. You don't like going to the gym. You don't like training. You don't like sleeping. You don't like thinking. Everything is a nightmare. We had Aldur on the same podcast with Niall speaking about how he took tren, how it was horrible, and how you see people with their eyes open. They look like sociopaths. This is a real thing.
Remember, people back in Egypt who used tren a lot, they gave sociopath vibes. Even when they talk, like their eyes are like all widen up and they kind of talk like that. You can tell, you can look at the guy and you're like, this guy's brain is fried. And that's tren. Literally fries your brain.
Hormones are a powerful thing, not to be fucked with. But that's also why steroids are so fun, is being able to control your hormones.
And so you know what? You can learn to control your emotions without abusing steroids. You don't have to abuse steroids and say, oh, I'm going to now control my emotions. You can actually be natural and still control your emotions. Even if you're natural, you still get happy, you get sad, you get angry, you get depressed, you get happy. You can still learn to control your emotions. You don't need steroids to come into your life to control your emotions.
Pretty much this cycle, I get dialed for about 4 days. And then I go get rinsed in Vegas for 3 days.
And so think of it, he's on 2.5 grams of gear in comparison to his first cycle of just 500. 500 milligrams of test and 25 milligrams of anavar. He was making more progress on the lower dose than his current dose. But yet he only follows his diet properly for about 4 days and then parties out in Vegas for 3. How are you going to make progress if you're only training hard for 4 days? You're partying for 3, and how do you think the next 4 days are going to go? You're hungover, you're going through the motions, and so why even bother?
Like, the progress is definitely stunted by like 75%. Habitual drinking, gambling, and cocaine.
And so he realized it. 75% of the gains he's missing out on. He knows why. He's sniffing this, he's drinking, he's not training as hard as he should, and so why bother?
But I never use a drug for longer than, depends on the drug. Like if it's going to be Xanax, like maybe 2 weeks, then time to chill.
Let me caution you. If you think that you can avoid addiction by substituting one drug for another, you just say, oh, I'll just use this drug for 2 weeks. I'll do that drug for a month. I'll switch back to this one. I'll go back and forth. Eventually, that drug is not going to stop. You're going to get addicted. And if you go from one drug to the next, and you can't stop partying, and you're partying every single weekend, staying up all night for multiple days, you in fact have a problem. And that problem, it's not going to go away from switching to a different drug.
Things are great until all of a sudden you have a massive problem and you have an addiction.
Exactly. And so think of it. Things are great until they're not. Until you have a problem. And you're well on your way, if not already, to having a very serious problem.
Steroids get such a bad rap. I personally think steroids are fucking awesome. So that's why I speak so highly of them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Applied for a business loan for one of my businesses. I take steroids and I'm open about it. And they're like, oh, we can't give you a loan.
And so think of it, the fact that he's open about steroids, it shut down a loan for his clothing brand. He could have got the loan, they approved it, but because he's open about taking steroids, they shut him down. And so let that be a lesson. Sometimes it's better to say nothing. If you're open, honest, and transparent and saying, hey, I take this, I take that, it may in fact affect your career. Imagine this, Togi decides, you know what? I want to be a school teacher. Imagine him going to university, studying for all those years, and applying to be a teacher, or perhaps a doctor, a nurse, a firefighter, a police officer. When you are open about these things, many doors are going to close. And so try not to close as many doors as possible before you even know what you want in life.
Well, you know, because I've already been taking steroids on the internet. Like if that was something I could get like arrested for or whatever, you know, it's too late now.
And so here's the thing. When you admit these things on YouTube and so on, you can always say, look, I was acting. I didn't actually take steroids. I wasn't sniffing creatine. I wasn't doing any of this stuff. And so I do think he has plausible deniability. If he's in fact being pressured by the police, questioned and so on, he can say, this is an act. I'm an actor. Do you really think I would do all those things? Do you really think I would be that stupid? I think he may in fact get away with it if he was in fact questioned by the police.
I continue that oral cycle for like the next year to get my pro card. Bro, at the end of it, my liver enzymes were in the 300s.
And so many people think, oh, it's just an oral. They're just SARMs. They're in pill form. Pill forms can often be worse than injectables. Many people are scared of pinning themselves or scared of the needle. But I'm telling you, if you take things orally, it can be very toxic to the liver. And so his liver values, perhaps it was AST or ASL, was over 300. The highest I'd ever been, I believe, was 136. He was over 300. And remember, even over 100 is bad. And so if you're at 300, very, very dangerous. Now remember, if you're abusing steroids, drinking alcohol, and so on, it's important to look after your health. Blood work is going to help. It's not going to be all that you need. Of course, it'd be better to avoid doing these things. And if you are avoiding these things, you want to get natural gains, try using Turk Builder and GO2 Max. These two in particular, my top and second bestseller. These are the #1 supplements at Harder Than Last Time. If you're interested in these, code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description. You'll have more energy. You'll get bigger pumps. You'll be able to put on more muscle. And so if you're trying to stay natural, look for HDLT supplements. Head over to my website, code Greg, 15% off.
More bitches, more money, and I'm famous. I've got screamingly high blood pressure. I have gyno, and I need to get a boob job.
And so his blood pressure is through the roof. He's got to get gyno surgery. He has a host of different problems. But guess what? He's got money, he's famous, and he's got girls. And so perhaps it's worth it. It's up for you to decide. Remember, there are no girls when you're dead. If he doesn't make it another year, then he's not going to get anyone. All the money in the world is not going to bring him back. And so please be careful.
The odds of you finding an amazing wife, because I care a lot about having a wife and having kids with her.
Yeah.
As far as fucking hoes, whatever, I could go without it. I could go a year without sex, no problem.
And so he literally says he doesn't care about the bitches. He doesn't care about having sex. He could go a year without sex. But what he really wants is to have a wife, to be with him forever, perhaps a family. I hate to break it to you, but the way you're going, this is not going to happen. You're not going to live long enough to enjoy your long and healthy life. Do you really think your wife is going to want you partying harder than last time, risking it all for what? The money? And so if you really want to have a family, if you really want to have a wife, you need to slow it down. You need to be more careful. You need to do better. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Don't forget to watch one of those two bloops. If you're interested in any of the Harder Than Last Time supplements, the clothing line, the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, any of the books, get over to the website. You got no money? Don't forget about that free diet and training program. It's close to 50 pages in length. And also join the 300,000 plus newsletter subscribers. And until next time, I am out.